Hello again, everyone. Edwin Learnard back once again in this YouTube astrological segment. I'm going to be talking about transit Uranus conjunct one's natal Neptune. Now, when you have transits that involve Uranus, they can manifest in a lot of uniqueness, unorthodox energy, disruptions, freedom, independence. When transit Uranus conjuncts one's natal Neptune, well, this could be about uniqueness, what's unorthodox, the unusual, disruptions, freedom and independence. And it could also be a lot of erratic and sporadic energy. It could be tied into one's dreams. It can be, say, if it's in Sagittarius, it might be something with sports or religion or philosophy. It might be something, in fact, it's Uranus, it might be something very unique. Uh, it might be disruptions and attainingness at this time. Neptune is also about solitude, seclusion, and isolation. So it can also be a time where that may be disrupted at this time if you're trying to find some peace in your life and you're just trying to lay down and find your place, that's alone and where you feel weird, where it's desolate. You might even have some interruptions with that at this time, but could also manifest in very unique ways that you might isolate yourself at this time more so than usual. It could also be really a time where you could have very unusual ability to imagine at this time. It might be Uranus is connected with computers, the internet. It might be maybe you might be envisioning something associated with that at this time, or sharing things, your imagination on with people on the internet, with social networking, social media, people on online, and also too at this time as well. It's a time to be careful regarding drugs and alcohol because Uranus, I see, can be very experimental energy, trying things that are new and different. And if you're somebody, say that's you're being exposed in an environment where this is prevalent, it can be a time where you need to really take a little bit more caution than usual at this time. And on a positive note, though, I mean, considering Uranus is connected with the unusual, Neptune is associated with psychic receptivity. It can be a time where you might have an unusual ability, maybe to be maybe mediumistic, to be able to see what's going to happen as far as the future goes. I mean, Uranus is associated with the future, and again, Neptune can be connected with psychic receptivity. It can be a very, be a positive time to be able to see and forecast more so than usual what lies ahead, especially if your chart is one that is really, that is very intuitive. You have a dominant water element, for example, in your chart. Um, Another thing too is that it's also Neptune is connected with deception and duplicity. So it's time right now to be guard against people in friendships, people in groups, clubs, organizations that might be more deceptive and duplicitous than usual. Read the fine print. If you're trying to join some kind of group or club, what is actually going on? Things may not always be what they seem when we're talking about transits that involve Neptune. Um, it can be to Neptune is also about fantasy, so it might be something where maybe friends might play a little bit more of a role, figure more prominently in what you fantasize about. These fantasies might be very unusual at this time as well. Neptune is also connected with our ideals. So what it can be, I mean, Uranus related things may be associated with your ideals more so than usual at this time. It might be things connected with the computer, the internet, being progressive, moving forward, having a good future that's ahead of you. Friendships, maybe just being more active in groups at this time. It could be social networking. So being innovative, going outside the box. And anatomically speaking, Neptune is connected with the feet, the toes, the lymphatic, and immune system. It can be a time for people that have this transit where something out of the blue very spontaneously may happen with one of these things I mentioned. Uranus can be very bizarre, gross, or ones that happen very pretty spontaneously. It could be something that might occur in a foot, when you're by a toe, on a toe maybe. I should say on the toe. It can also be issues with the lymphatic or immune system that happens unexpectedly. Um, Also, too, I mean, Neptune is connected with dissolving and dissipation. So it might be something, too, that maybe a friendship might dissolve quicker or very unexpectedly. It can be maybe a friend might figure more prominently in you dissolving something. Say if it's in the second house, it could be something of a monetary nature. The eighth house could be a shared resources situation. Neptune is also connected with flooding. It can be a time where something very spontaneously happens. Uh, as far as, say, if it's in the fourth house or in the zodiac sign Cancer, it could be flooding in the home. That might transpire at this time, and that might come like just completely as a shock. So we're talking about Uranus energy. Um, could also be, you're talking about, I mean, Neptune is also escapism. So maybe something Uranus related could be a form of escapism. It could be something astrology or astronomy. Maybe it has something, maybe it's going online more frequently, social media, social networking, playing electronic games. Um, could also be about things with the computer, meeting fantasy, playing fantasy games at this time. Now, at this time as well, friendships may be more inspirational than usual. Say if you have this in Scorpio in your seventh house at this time, it can be maybe it might be ones that are it could be, or it could even be at this time, you might get involved in extreme sports competition, as an example, if it's Neptune and Scorpio in the seventh house, and maybe friends inspire you to do this more. Or it could simply be that friendships may be more inspirational, and maybe having more deep relationships at this time. If it's in Scorpio in the seventh house. Um, if it's in the 10th, say if it's in Scorpio in the 10th house, it could be being inspired by friends to pursue a Scorpio career, such as locksmithing, the occult, which includes astrology, something with forensics, investigation, uh, working in a death profession such as a coroner, a mortician, a funeral director, surgeon. Now, also, too, this could be done too. Another way this may manifest could be that Uranus-related matters may be done with more idealism, compassion, and self-sacrifice. It could be just, matters with altruism, maybe helping somebody on the computer, on the internet, maybe somebody that's giving you insight into an astrological chart, something maybe that involves, innovation or new technology, helping you learn maybe more about new technology, as an example. Uh, could be like, say this falls in Gemini in the 12th house, as an example. This could be a time where some people, you know, might be, as far as early education goes, I mean, again, Gemini in the 12th house, that could be, maybe showing, Uranus. It could be maybe helping early education, people that are in their early education that are less fortunate. Gemini could be connected with early education. The 12th house, of course, could be associated with the less fortunate. Um, and it may be done using, new new technology, computers or tech labs, because you're talking about Uranus energy in there as well. And the thing is, and it might be done with, of course, more compassion, more sacrifice, more idealism. Could also be at a good. This could be very auspicious and favorable as well for perhaps extricating oneself, because Uranus is connected with freedom, and extricating oneself from an addiction, perhaps. Say if this falls in Pisces in the fifth house as an example, it could be maybe playing a lot of video and fantasy games. Pisces, of course, is associated with videos, fantasy. Games is connected with the fifth house. Hold on a moment, people. Sorry about that, I'm back. But anyway, could also be more of an inclination to escape from society. I mean, societies can be associated with Uranus. Neptune is about escapism. And the thing is, too, another way, I mean, this could manifest and pan out in isolated, remote cases. It can be some kind of unexpected, which is Uranus issues with the feet, the toes, the lymphatic system, which of course is associated with Neptune. It can also be about the dissolving and weakening, which is Neptune energy, of the ankles, the shins, the calves, ankles, and the nerves. It could be some deterioration in one or more of those things I just described, and even circulation. And in some cases that are isolated, especially if there's a few people out there that might be, even sadly, might be involved in crime, or habitual offenders or whatever, it could be some kind of Uranus-related imprisonment may take place, because your Neptune is of course associated with imprisonment and incarceration. Uranus can be, I mean, Uranus is associated, it could be like a cyber crime or hacking into a computer. As an example, it might be something with computers and electronics. It could be like credit card fraud. I mean, say if it falls in the eighth house of credit cards as an example. So anyway, people, that'll conclude this YouTube astrological segment. Until next time, people, Edwin Learnard saying stay well.